Hello everyone. So there was an article on civil society organization on 5th January 2022 in the Hindu editorial. Now civil society organization as a topic is very important for our paper 1 as well as paper 2. There is a big segment on politics and society. Within that we have a subsection that deals with nation, state, citizenship, democracy, civil society, ideology. Now, the idea on citizenship, democracy, and civil society is something that would be correlated here. I would like to point out that nowadays the question in UPSC is not as simple uh, as a sociological analysis of a particular theme, for instance, civil society, or they would not be asking you in direct form the understanding of democracy. So, it is important to have a sociological analysis of these ideas, but what is becoming very critical nowadays is the interrelation. So, for instance, to point out, there was a question to evaluate how do civil society and democracy mutually reinforce each other. Then there was another question, that is critically examine the role of civil society in democracy. So you can see how they are trying to bring in two different sociological concepts into one question, and what they expect you is to relate these ideas together. That is the demand of the question. They are not asking you about civil society in particular or democracy in particular, but they are asking you very specifically, how do they mutually reinforce each other? How does civil society impact democracy? How does democracy impact civil society? And then definitely the antithesis, how do they do not impact each other? Then there was another question on short note on the sociological perspective of citizenship and civil society. So this becomes important to highlight that, you know, while you're studying these topics, try to relate different ideas together. Now this editorial was brought in because there is a huge debate whether civil society organization should be controlled, or there are a lot of thinkers who would actually criticize this control. Our idea is to read this editorial from a sociological perspective and not take any sides in particular. We will put a very balanced view in our answer, right? So as I always do, the editorial is about civil society organization, and before dealing with the editorial, I'll give a background. Now civil society and democracy, if you have to relate, very important, how do you relate, how can you relate it? Now uh, now in a liberal democracy, I'll give you the perspective how you can relate three terms in one sentence, right? Now liberal democracy, the state, and civil society. So in a liberal democracy, the state is the political association, whereas the civil society is a private association, and the civil society lies outside the competence of the state. So what happens is that in a democratic setup, there is a line that is drawn between civil society and the state, right? So what is the role of civil society in a democratic setup? The role is to provide a representative forum for the citizens. It is also to curtail the power and the authority of the state. So it helps us in providing a democratic setup altogether. It provides us a voice. Citizens get a voice through civil society. Now civil society is a private association. It is not a public association. It is a private association because there are people with different interest groups, and they come up and form a civil society. So if you want to understand in terms of the examples, There are many civil society organizations. So you will have political parties also have a civil society, will also come under civil society organization. Then the trade unions, the religious organization, the citizen organization, educational, mass media, women's organization, students, then NGOs working on different issues for the disabled, anti-consumerism, labor unions, so sports and the ethnic association. So you think about it, and there are too many civil society organizations that will fall under this whole theme. Now, what happens in a totalitarian setup? The state and the civil society is not separate. You do not have the democracy for the citizens to come up with a civil society organization altogether. Rather, the civil society organization will play the role of state. So these civil society organization, they have the same language of the state. They also run an authoritarian perspective and idea. So that is one thing. We need to understand the question would generally be on liberal democracy. How in a democratic setup the civil society organization plays its role. So civil society organization in a liberal setup, it falls outside the competence of the state, right? And it gives the voice to the citizens. What it does, it tries to bridge the gap between the citizens and the state. I hope this is clear. Now, this is the understanding that has come up with democracy. Now, what was happening before? So, there's a lot of criticism also that goes on against civil society. So, Ferguson in 18th century, he said that modern capitalist society, as it evolved, the role of the state was limited and the civil society formed. So this is how civil society formed. Then on one hand they relate with democracy, on the other hand civil society is also related with capitalism. It is believed that civil society is a product of capitalism and it is a modern idea. Civil society is a very, very modern idea. Who criticizes civil society most? Marx was somebody who criticized it a lot. He said that civil society is the superstructure that is dominated by the bourgeois class and the ruling class. So the ideology of the civil society is basically the ideology of the bourgeois, and it is a soft mechanism through which people are dominated, and it actually is the superstructure. So if you think about it, basically what he meant that civil society even in a liberal democratic setup, what happens is that it has the language of the state, it has the similar language of the government, and it works for the welfare of the capitalist class and the bourgeois class. So think about lobbying. Think about the capitalist class who lobby in the government, and ultimately what happens, their agenda gets into the policy framework, and finally there is a nexus between the state and capitalists. So that is one idea that Marx would say. Gramsci would again talk about a similar idea about the whole idea of hegemony, that it is coercive and it is dominating, and it gives rise to hegemony. It is an ideological power. So through this we understand this whole Marxian perspective. Then Gramsci, they would all believe that civil society is what? Civil society is basically anti-democratic. It is something which is hampering democracy in altogether. Now, this was the whole idea of civil society before World War. Now, once World War happened, right? Once World War happened, and there was a kind of post World War. What was happening is that private organizations came up, and civil society was formed, and it became the watchdog of people's rights, right? And so civil society was understood to be very essential for democracy. It came up against authoritarian rule. So we have talked about how in a totalitarian society, civil society and democracy, they play civil society and the state, they play the similar role of domination. Whereas after World War, when the democratic ideas came into picture, civil society organizations were formed, and they were talking about democracy, and they were talking against totalitarianism. And it was believed that it is very, very essential for democracy because it provides you that public space where the individuals gather together and they have a voice of their own and they speak against the state. In now in contemporary times, what is happening is that technology is very important. So we see that even on social media, um, there is this whole civil society organization and formation, and there are various groups that would come up and they kind of collaborate with each other through social media and new technology. So this is where your the whole idea of technology and social change would also come in picture. How technology is facilitating social change through civil society. That is one angle. So you see how on one topic you can you can join your threads and you can talk about so many dimensions. Anyways, moving on. How is civil society different in a third world society? Now, when there is a question on Indian civil society organization, now the whole game is to talk about tradition and modernity. So, how within third world society, you have modern civil society organization as well as traditional civil society organization. If you think about examples, it is very easy. I mean, traditional civil society organizations will be based upon caste groups, religion groups, linguistic groups, or ethnic groups, tribal groups. Whereas modern civil society organization, they are more individualized. So maybe talking about interest groups in terms of environment, they would talk about capitalists would have their own civil society organization. So within a third world society, within a developing country like India, you have these two kinds of civil society. This was the whole background. Now moving on to the editorial, uh, the whole debate is about recent there was this question on certification and registration, and the process has been somewhat made more difficult because there is you need to open bank accounts, and FCRA is becoming one space where civil society organizations are facing certain problems. You have to link your PAN card, Aadhaar card, and there's a mapping that has to be done. So now it is believed that civil society organization, they serve as a social and cultural cause. In the form they come up in the public domain, they are also questioning the state organization. They're also fighting for certain causes, and in many remote areas they are doing silent work. So it's more of a silent revolution. And then there are also critiques because civil society organizations is not always the positive picture. You also have civil society organization that is anti-democratic, for example the terrorist groups. So but they would all, it is a private organization technically, so they are also a civil society organization. There are international groups that work for their own agenda, and there are debates whether they are actually working for the cause, or they are they're working for dominant powers. So internationally, globally, when we look at it, the debate also takes a different angle altogether. Then it mentions one case where Missionaries of Charity, which was run by Mother Teresa, was in news because its permission was cancelled by SCRA, and the cancellation process has been increasing nowadays much more. There is a belief that there is a general attack on civil society. So do you see what is happening? There is a chasm, there is a tension that is going on between civil society organization and the state, right? You have to superficially look at the picture, right, and try to contextualize it through sociological terms and perspectives. How do we relate different terms? So there is a chasm between the political elite and the civil society organization. They're also working in remote areas, and it is a non-governmental organization. So these are the non-state actors basically. And so you can talk about Foucault, how the idea of power and surveillance has increased upon them. Then the whole talk about sovereignty. So if you remember, in Harlambus and in general, there is this idea that with globalization, the role of the state would decrease, the sovereignty is threatened. And this is one area how a lot of scholars believe that sovereignty is threatened through non-state actors, through international NGOs. So there is a kind of withering away of the state, and this is one way in which the withering away of the state happens. Now, this section on organizations that are needed is an important section for you to take further. Now he says that they work on three verticals. On one hand, they talk about greater efficiency. Second vertical, it is about environmental accountability, intergenerational justice. So these are the issues that they work upon. The third angle that they talk about is beyond the capability of the state to come up with such initiatives. Now these are the initiatives, in terms of silent revolution. They are actually working in far-fetched areas. They're very, they remain silent and they keep working on certain issues. For instance, you have, there's this idea of distributing clothing for work as done by Gunj. So these are the civil society organizations. They have also worked during pandemic a lot. So for the citizens, during destitutes and during crisis, they also come up as a major forum that help them during crisis. So, and that's why the author says that we cannot expect these organizations not to have international funding. And that is one debate that goes on. How do these organizations, because these organizations also run on a very small financial scale. So they, on one hand, they need financial funding, and on the other hand, providing so many documents and working out in that direction is a tedious task for them, and it gets very expensive also. Now, the next section on issue of funding. The globalization has made the borders very fluid. So you have Doctors Without Borders, you have Reporters Without Borders. So these are international in nature. You have similar case at Jaipur Foot provided by the Bhagwan Mahavir Viklang Sahatya Samiti. So they do a kind of humanitarian work. Even missionaries of charity was doing that. So the development work that goes on for them is global. They work on human rights, environmental rights, and civil society organization on the issues of economic growth and development. Now, when the civil society organization they go global, they are talking about global issues, and then the idea of sovereignty. Where is the state sovereignty as far as civil society organization is concerned, and what is the citizenship? Citizenship is also global citizenship, right? So from this editorial and civil society organization on the issues of economic growth and development. Now, when the civil society organization they go global, they are talking about global issues, and then the idea of sovereignty. Where is the state sovereignty as far as civil society organization is concerned, and what is the citizenship? Citizenship is also global citizenship, right? So from this editorial, we need to understand that civil society organization is a private association. It may work It may enhance democracy, and many a times it is also curtailing democracy. It is against democracy. If you look at terrorist groups, if you look at non-state actors which run cybercrime, these are the private associations. So the role of civil society organization in global era is becoming widespread, and how globalization is impacting citizenship, how the idea of democracy is also um, becoming becoming a part of civil society organization, and what is the role of the state within it. So try and deal with the question through multiple sociological ideas, multiple ideas on what is state, what is the nation, what is the civil society organization role in a democratic setup, and where is the whole game of surveillance and control happening, and take a very balanced view. Then also talk about citizenship. So your answer has to be very, very holistic. Thank you.